So I think you hit kind of on what we're going to be, I think, nailing down in this conversation, because you do something that's a little unique that not a lot of real estate investors know a lot about or take action on. ADUs. Like, tell us about ADUs. What the heck is that?
You're listening to the Real FI Podcast, where we discuss time-tested tricks, techniques, and strategies for pursuing financial independence today, so that we can enjoy a better tomorrow. Financial independence isn't about getting rich quick. It's about cultivating a foundation to grow financially, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Let's figure out how to kick the 9 to 5. Here are your hosts, Patrick and James.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the Real FI Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McGrath, with my co-host, James Rippion. How's it going today, James?
It's going well, man. Living that real estate life. You know, part of this life is all about patience. Right now, we're waiting for some appraisals to come in for some of the properties we have for refinance. Waiting that game out. But other than that, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. I think we have a heavy hitter on board with us, and we're going to learn a lot.
Yes, sir. We got a great guest today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we're going to get started.
Hello, everyone. Roberto De Leon. I am a real estate investor in Los Angeles. I've been investing since 2014. I currently have a real estate portfolio of multifamilies and single families. I'm excited to join the podcast with you guys.
So, Roberto, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, like where you came from? Tell us like where you started your investment journey and kind of what you're doing now as far as maybe your day job and your side hustles with real estate, and just kind of give us all that background information and lead us up to what you're doing today.
No worries. Yeah. Born and raised in Los Angeles. So I know Los Angeles very well. I started investing. I bought my first house in 2012 after the market crashed. I graduated college, got a good job, was getting good income. And the next step was just to buy a property for myself. So got into house hacking there, not even knowing that was a definition back in the day. So got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and I put some drywall on the back end and rented out a room and a bathroom, and was paying minimal rent, mortgage for that. It offset my mortgage. So in 2014, got married, bought another property, and then it just started from there. And I started investing from there. In 2020, the law changed for ADUs in California, which I could go into in a little bit, but I got into more investing, and that's more of our strategy of building ADUs on the property. Little background, so I do work full-time. I have a W-2 job that's full-time. I'm the vice president for a medical company in Los Angeles. So I manage the business operation, acquisitions, and operations for the clinics for the underserved community. So we're like in the toughest areas of Los Angeles. So like a lot of those mafia gangster movies in the 90s, 2000s, my clinics are in there. So we're in the housing projects. We're in the underserved area. So I've been working for this company for about 10 years. And I'm investing on the side since 2014. And it's been fun, very stressful, but investing on the side has opened my mind to a lot of different things, and just life and just financial freedom in general, and just perspective on and being an entrepreneur.
So I think you hit kind of on what we're going to be, I think, nailing down in this conversation, because you do something that's a little unique that not a lot of real estate investors know a lot about or take action on. ADUs. Like, tell us about ADUs. What the heck is that?
So ADUs are accessory dwelling units. So in 2020, Governor Newsom, the governor of California, passed this law because we have a huge housing crisis here. So there's not enough housing. I know it's in the nation, but in LA, it's much worse. We don't have enough housing, and it's not affordable right now. It's very expensive to get a rental unit, and it keeps on increasing as we go forward. So this new ADU law makes it very easy to build additional units on the property. That could be a garage conversion, that could be an addition to a house, or a brand new house on the lot. A lot of the building requirements that make it difficult to build are taken away. And the guidelines are 4 feet from a wall and 4 feet from a dwelling. And the max you can build on an external unit is about 1,200 square feet, which is a very good size 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And there's a lot of pros too. So if you can build more if they're multifamily zone lots. You could build up to 2 to 3, and you get bonus if you have 8 units, 4 units. So every 4 units, you get an additional unit you could build. So they're incentivizing you to build as we go forward. But we've taken this approach. Accessory dwelling unit is best way for to build. You don't have to have parking, which is great as well. So you literally can maximize a lot, which is the barrier entry to get a property is very difficult. So you can maximize on a lot and build as you go on your lot.
I really love this strategy, especially for California and, LA County in particular, because, everybody would always say, hey, I'm living in California and it's the barrier to entry is so high. I need to go check out these secondary, third, tertiary cities, people going to like Utah and Arizona and all these other places to invest, because, a single family home is costing $600,000 to $800,000, and your rents aren't going to be, meet anywhere close to the 1% rule. So everybody's like, well, you're kind of going off appreciation, and we know where that's taken us right now with the current market cycle. So this is really huge. So what I'm understanding is, they took you just have to apply to build it and go through the permit process, but you don't have to get the zoning changed for that specific lot or anything. Break that down to us.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because you go through this when you get when you refinance, because at a refinance one, it's like I did 3 units on an R1 lot. So they basically gave me the occupancy as an R3, but it's still zoned as an R1. On that particular property, I had a 1,600 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And then I added a garage conversion of 432 square feet. I added a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And then in front of the house, which is interesting because usually behind the house, I added a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet in front of the house. So 2 parking spaces, literally 8 bedrooms, 6-bath. And you're able to maximize every square foot. I literally maximized every square foot on the property. So it's interesting, and it gives you the ability to maximize growth. We're able to increase rents. I was renting the house for $3,500, and now I'm clearing about $10,000 since I'm Airbnb in the front unit. So I'm getting about $10,000 now on that property in rental income.
So let's talk about that parking situation. Is that something that the tenants miss, or do they need that, or are they like able to rely on public transit? I'm just wondering if there's any impact for the density on these properties.
So one of the rules is that there has to be public transportation in a mile radius, but in Los Angeles, you'll have a bus route in a mile radius everywhere. So it's very flexible on that end. So that was one of the requirements, and that's usually waived. As for tenants, it's as long as the properties are nice, it hasn't been a difficulty renting them out or having people complain about them, because it's so hard to find rentals that are affordable in this area.
Yeah, I mean, I know that me in particular, like I've seen some documentaries on Netflix and like Cheddar and different things on YouTube where people are turning, these 3,000 square foot homes into like 20 units where people are taking bedrooms and like 6 people are living in them and renting like a bunk bed space for $500 or $600 a month. So, I know a lot of us listening out there are thinking a 430 square foot 1-bedroom apartment, that sounds extremely tiny, but what you're saying is like, that's a nice size, unit. I just saw something on Instagram the other day where people were building 12 by 12 ADUs in their backyard and saying they're going to get like $3,000 a month for them. So like, I think for James and I and people on the East Coast and the Midwest, hearing these numbers like is insane. So break it down for us on how much is this costing you per square foot to build this type of stuff,
Yeah. So ADU, that's a new construction, new build from ground up, cost me about $250 a square foot. If I'm talking about garage conversion, already has the walls, I'm just doing the plumbing and inside, building the inside, you're talking about $150 a square foot. This is where the kicker comes in, that the properties usually on that property that I did that unit, those usually sell per square foot from $750 to $850 a square foot. So if you build at $250, you're getting about $600 in equity right there. The difficulty right now is that there's no comps with ADUs, so the appraisers have difficulty assessing it. So if I would list that on the market, it would sell at that $750, $850. But since there's no comps, they're having difficulty evaluating it. So sometimes I'm getting half of that or I'm getting 1-to-1 evaluation on addition that's attached, but the detached unit, they're only giving me a $25,000 credit. So we're having difficulty there, but if you list on the market, it will sell. That's where they're having difficulty on that end.
So let's talk through that a little bit, because I don't know that that's your specific strategy, because you're purchasing and acquiring these properties, you're building these ADUs, and you're not looking to flip them. What are you doing with these properties?
Holding them. So I only buy and hold. I put so much work into them. It's like art. I just keep them. Building takes me 2 years to do this project. So plans take about a year here, and building takes about 7 months. So you're talking about 2 years at best to get a project done. I'm buying properties right now and setting them up for the next 2 years. So I have one starting in July, and that one I'm going to add a 1,200 square foot 2-story unit and a 3-car garage 800 square foot addition there. And on the next unit, I'm building 2,000 square foot units on top of each other. So it takes a while, but yes, I hold those to rent, and my plan is to refi and get the money back. That's really my goal: refinance and keep on repeating as long as I lock in. And this is the crazy part, that I usually stick to the under $1.4 million cost, 1 million to 1.4 million, and under 4 units, so 1 to 4 units, and then I add 2 units. So the evaluation goes from $1 million to $2 million once I'm done. So you're doubling the evaluation once you're done, and you're doubling the rent as you go as well.
So you are essentially doubling your net worth and almost tripling your cash flow on each property, but it's taking you 2 years. Correct. Which, to think that each one of these projects is able to do that in 2 years, I know most people, would think like, hey, if I could double my net worth and my, triple my cash flow, that would be in 3 years. If you have like one property and then you buy 3 over the next 3 years, you might be able to do that. But I mean, the numbers that you're talking about are absolutely huge. Yeah. So how many total units are you currently at now? And what does that look like overall?
So I have 5 properties, 3 are multifamilies. There are 2 triplexes and 1 duplex. I'm adding the 2 triplexes, I'm adding 2 units on them. Actually, the 2 triplex, the triplex, I'm adding 2 units, and a duplex, I'm adding 2 units. So they're going to be 4plex and 5plexes. The single family, I do Airbnb. That used to be my primary house, and I actually canceled that one, man. I don't even keep track of that. So that one I rent out as a luxury unit. So that one I rent out $7,400 a month. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. So it's insane, man. So it's
hard to who's like not watching the video. Patrick's eyes pretty much popped out.
Yeah. Oh, that was another one that you get so bogged down about your life, and you can't see other people's perspective. That when I rented out my primary, I was telling people it says market rate's about $7,500 for this house, and everyone thought, who would pay $7,500 for rent? And literally, I listed it Christmas Day, the 24th, the 25th, and I had 4 people inquire about it at $7,400 a month for that primary house. It's insane. Like the people are not rather rent than purchase right now, or rather wait on the market. So, but for myself, multifamilies and single families on our market, and we're planning to add on those and acquire about 3 properties a year. I am shifting to doing Airbnbs next year, because my model before was to break even and then build. But right now with the interest rates, those properties I was breaking even last year, I'm losing about $800 in my analysis. So I'm waiting to see where the market shifts. I'm going to focus to Airbnb next year just to get the cash flow. And then I'm going to just go back to multifamily to see where the market goes, because a lot of the ones I would buy previously are not affordable anymore.
So that was a lot to follow. Summarize that math for us. How many units are you at right now?
And you say units are lots, right? Or you're talking about doors?
Doors.
Okay. Sorry, I never look at doors. I usually just look at income.
Property.
So doors, I have 10 doors.
10 doors.
10 doors.
Going to 17 is what I got from that, with adding and building and
correct.
All of that. So question on this is, have you thought about selling one of these off to make $1 million and just like setting that aside, or paying cash for any of this, and then having that 10 grand a month or $14,000 a month just flow right into your bank account? Is that something that you thought of? Or, I know you're doing the Burr method, but like taking out a giant line of credit or anything to pay all this, like how are you paying for all this?
Yeah, it's I have thought about it, a lot of times, but I'm looking at the long-term game. I'm looking at, really building a steady portfolio. I'm buying in A-class areas in Los Angeles where are very difficult to get. And I'm looking at the long term. I'm looking 10 years from now. Where do I want to position myself? And one of the biggest things is like when I bought my new primary house in 2022 I was looking at selling the property we had, and we would have made $1 million on that property, but we decided to hold it, make 3,000 in income, hold it, and use that equity to purchase more property. So my goal is to strip the property as much as I can in equity to purchase more. So I'd rather multiply and have less cash flow than have a lot of money sitting in my bank.
That's a great strategy. I mean, I just had to ask because it's like, man, there's $1 million sitting over here. To most people, it sounds like I know I would struggle to not sell just for the simple fact to like hit that first million, as like kind of like a win. So I love your delayed gratification here. And I know James probably has a question regarding this too, because like it's kind of really blowing my mind here.
Well, I think that's what's great about real estate is, this isn't the stock market, and you don't have someone telling you every single day, what your equity position's worth and what your house is worth. I'm sure you've got like a general idea of it, but you're not tempted to get in and out, sell it. And that's exactly what real estate is. It's a long-term game. You're building equity and you're leveraging that equity through smart refinancing opportunities to take down the next deal. And I think that's a lot of, something that a lot of investors have a hard time grappling with is sacrificing that immediate payoff with the flip or the sale and taking that smaller, more consistent cash flow for long periods of time. But time and time again, every successful real estate investor I meet, either they're flipping and they wish they could do the long-term investment rentals, or they got successful because they were patient and they held on to what they had for a long time.
Yeah. And the biggest thing with me with my job is I get good income. So my job is right now is to get as much finance as I can, strip as much equity as I can, build my LLC revenue. So by the time I do retire, then I have enough income that I could get loans without a problem. So I'm establishing the basis. So when I do stop working, it's going to be cruise control. I can still get the same kind of financing, everything going. So I'm stripping as much as I can to build my portfolio.
A lot of real estate investors they jump the gun. They think they can just get into real estate. They're quitting their job tomorrow, and they're going to start making it happen one way or another. What do you say to those investors that feel like they're compelled to quit their job and just go full-time into real estate?
It's, everyone's different. I think if you're young, you have no responsibilities, why not? See, like myself, I have a family, 2 kids, and I have a good career that I've built, that it's not that easy for me to make that adjustments. I have it good right now. I'd rather build slowly, build gradually, and then eventually make the decision there. I think like everything, it's perspective on where you're at, if you could take the risk. But for me, with 2 young kids, it's not worth the risk to take that risk and leave my job.
Yeah. I mean, I think, that right there is an extremely solid point about building the foundation and setting yourself up a few years from now to, like you said, have your business lined up, be able to continue to build upon that with the financing, having the income coming in from your LLC. So when banks are looking at you, you're still being able to get approved. These are all things that I think when you're in your first couple years of investing and doing real estate that you don't necessarily think about, because you're thinking about that next property and analyzing these deals and interest rates and the tenants, because you just haven't been doing it enough to get that thought process a little further down the road. Like James said, this is most people that we talk to, they have a long-term vision of where they want to be. And I really love how that's all we've heard you say so far is you're thinking about that long-term vision. You're using your active income to build your passive income. And I absolutely love that. That's what I did. I think I'm one of those people. possibly that maybe quit a little too early. This is probably the first time I've ever said it, but not that I'm having issues like getting financing or anything. It's just kind of one of those things where I look back at it and go, well, if I had another year's worth of income, would I be a little further down the road?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking back and reflecting on that same stuff as well. So I think that is great advice. I think people really need to hone in and listen to that and, set themselves up way further than they think they actually need to be in a good position. And that's what
Trust
you're
me,
doing.
It's hard. It's hard. A lot of times I get these deals. I did a 500K cash out refi. I'm like, man, I can stop working with this, but you got to stick to your goals. Me and my wife set a plan. I always set a goal is double our income. Once I double my passive incomes, double my W-2 income, then I could set sail. So that's the goal, and we're sticking to it.
Well, let's dive into goals a little bit more, and let's talk about your financial independence journey, because that's what this show is all about. We want to dig into kind of what your ambitions are. So, when it comes to building up your portfolio and having all your business come to light and grow, where is that going to put you in terms of your goals with your finances?
With goals, my goal is 20,000 passive income for me to stop working W-2. I'm on track with the existing rental portfolio I have there to meet it in 2024. With the 2 build out units I have, I should meet that without a problem. But even with that, I'm still going to add some Airbnbs on that to have extra cushion before I stop working. So I'm kind of like in acceleration mode because I know it's like a 2-year mark. So I'm building as I go just to set sail the right way. But goals are 20,000 passive income. I don't really look at units. I don't really look at doors. I look at just revenue. That's all I look at, passive income. I don't care if my goal is literally when I evaluate properties, 1,000 passive income per door. That's usually if I evaluate, okay, that's a good deal. And that's how I use that marker going forward. And now that I throw midterm rentals and short-term rentals into it, like I could get a lot more. So I just started doing that this year. So that's opened my mind up a lot as well to my strategy.
So tell us a little bit about that, because we have had a very consistent theme over the last probably 10 episodes of people talking about short and midterm rentals accelerating their cash flow. And you had talked about you're building these ADUs, and some of them you're using as Airbnbs, which I'm surprised that with all of California's regulations, they didn't skirt something in there that said you weren't allowed to do that. So, tell us a little bit about that strategy and the cash flow difference.
Yeah, so most of the California, Los Angeles rules, you could do midterm rentals past 30 days. Short-term rentals, the cities I'm in, they don't really have regulation. So I'm just capitalizing right now until there is regulation. Once the regulation comes, I'm going to go to 30-day rentals. So technically you can do it with ADUs, they say on the rule, but I'm still doing it because there's no rules set in place. So there's no regulation there in the cities I have. It is risky, but like how I say, I'm trying to capitalize on the revenue, build as much as I can. Once they regulate it, then I'm going to shift to 30-day, which I heard it's much easier. I'm actually starting my first 2 midterm rentals in August. I'm rehabbing those properties right now. So I'm gonna jump into that market so I can prepare. So when the regulation does come, I can adjust very quickly.
So for that midterm rental, how are you going to be finding your clientele and your occupants? Is that through Airbnb or through more traditional marketing techniques?
Furnish Finder and Airbnb I'll be using, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now I'm strictly only using Airbnb. I only have one. I just did short-term rental, started that in March, and it's going so well. Like on that property, I was supposed to do long-term rental 3,500, and I'm cutting about 6,500 a month right now on average every month. So it's like I'm doubling the rent right there. So it's opened up my eyes a lot to do just Airbnbs, and it's worth the extra work.
So I am so like on the fence back and forth about converting one of my units. I have an empty one right now, and I'm either going to list it for long-term rental this week, or I'm going to go buy the furniture and try to list it on Airbnb. And everyone keeps telling me to do Airbnb, but I'm like that first time investor, like going to buy their first investment property right now, where it's like analysis paralysis is like killing me to every end. And like, how did you get past that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of other people thinking the same thing as me, but having all these guests on here telling me about it, I'm like, I just have to do it. And how did you get past that, man? Because I'm struggling with that right now.
I just saw the numbers, and my wife didn't want to do it. She said, I just want long-term rental so we don't have to deal with it. I said, we could double our rent on this property here. So we made a deal. If we don't get a qualified tenant within a week of listing it, then we're going Airbnb, and I won. So, and we listed on Christmas, like I think January 1st. So it was actually perfect because a lot of tenants don't go in the New Year's. So yeah, I did that transition. I also thought the same. And for me, it was the additional work for myself and my wife. But once you flip to that model, it's so profitable that you could hire VAs and you can make it work. And it still be profitable. So I would totally recommend doing it. I'm actually going to transition to that midterm rentals more and short-term rentals going forward, and just maximize revenue. Because right now, I cash flow, I'm investing so much into these units. I got to show as much cash flow as I can on these properties.
Well, let's turn this into an accountability session for Patrick. What's your biggest holdback, man? Like, what's that one thing that is making it be paralyzed?
Right, time and work, right? That's what usually was.
I think the biggest thing really is I don't know. I have this like thing where I don't want to fail at it. So I think there is like some legit like, well, what if I fail? I'm going to be out some furniture really, but there
Which
is
you can
that
sell.
like
You can resell,
which I can sell or just, refurnish my spare bedroom at my house or whatever. Or like just that additional work up front. And then I'm thinking about like, this isn't a multi-family building, like a 10-unit apartment complex. So like, I'm thinking about my tenants that are already there. Like, man, what if I get somebody that's like messes with the tenant upstairs that's super nice and never causes any issues, and then I'm trying to squeeze out like an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, and I cause an issue with one of my other great long-term tenants. But from everything that I've heard is everyone is super great and nice, because this isn't like a vacation rental. This is like a someone's coming in for a graduation party or a wedding or a funeral or something like that, or like a like a long business trip or something, or a nurse. So it's like people aren't gonna be loud and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just that conflicting thing because I haven't done it. I don't know.
I would say just try it. I think right now it's so new that it's so profitable. I think it's going to get saturated in the next couple of years, to be honest with you, because it's so profitable. It's only a matter of time when people start catching up. But the best thing I like about it is that your property stay clean. Like you're cleaning it so much that your property staying is exactly how you left it, which is nice, because when you get the long-term tenants, you get the beat up, you get the normal wear and tear. But these properties stay is nice. They stay beautiful the whole time because they're getting cleaned twice a week sometimes. So that's another benefit that I didn't even think of, that every time I go to the property, I'm like, man, this is like a nice hotel. So I would totally recommend it. Just jump. There's so many automated systems. We could connect offline, but there's so many automated systems that takes away the day-to-day from you as well.
That's great. I know I said it before, but I just got to do it. So
just do it, man. I was the same
way. Take action, man.
Yeah, I was the same way.
Look, decide, commit, take. I'm just gonna have to do it now. All right. So hopefully by the time this comes out, like we've already had like someone booked. That would be fantastic. Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to do it now. I've committed. I've decided. I've committed. Now the action will be taken, thanks to you. And we're gonna make it happen. They won't let us build any ADUs around here, so that really sucks. But that's crazy. All right. So let's think about this. So $20K a month. Now that's what my goal is out here on the East Coast, where things are a little cheaper, so that $20K a month out there in California, is that like your first level? That's when you're going to be quitting the job and taking a step back, or would it be like would it be like taking a step down from the role and working part-time? Like, break that down for us a little bit.
It's interesting because a lot of things have changed since I decided doing it. Like when I set that target, that right now I'm setting 20,000 goal. I don't know if I'm going to go into flipping or go into real estate full time that way, or just cruising it on that way, or buying Airbnbs. I work in healthcare a lot, and consulting fees do pay a lot. So I'm still deciding what to do. But full-time work, I think I'll step down from 2020. And I have more of a passion in real estate. So focusing on that after that. But honestly, my mind changes every month. So I don't know at this point, to be honest with you. As long as I meet the 20K, then I have the decision. I think that's the key, that you can make the decision at that point. And at that's the most powerful thing that you could have.
Well, it gives you opportunity, and it gives you, the choice, and it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. So I think that's what's super powerful about that, because you might find yourself in a position where, you enjoy continuing to work your daytime job, and, things are just gravy because you're young and things are just firing on all cylinders. So.
Yeah. And it's the key is too, it's now it's becoming more a reality. Now that I have the projects already in the pipeline that are going to happen. Now it's going to happen. Like now I'm really starting to really critically think, okay, what do I want to do when it gets to that point? So it's a reality now, which is a lot of times you work so hard to get to this point. Now that you're almost there, it's nice, and it's scary at the same time.
Yes, I was going to say the exact same thing, and that's where I was going to go. So I'm so happy you went there, because I think when you start from zero, that 10,000 or that 20,000 is always the goal for most people that we talk to. Those are the two numbers, right? Yeah. $10,000 or $20,000 a month. And like you said, when it starts to become reality, when you hit that first goal and you're getting closer to that next one, and you're seeing that you're only one or two more properties away, or converting a couple units to something that's going to make a little bit more money, you're like, well, I'm there. Like, but my life really hasn't changed that much, because you've been sacrificing the whole time to get there. Like, sometimes I don't think people realize like the sacrifice that goes into getting to that number, because you're not spending money, you're investing everything you have. And then once you get there, you're like, well, I've already set up this lifestyle where I am sacrificing, like, and you feel like you could push it even further. So you're not just going to turn a switch on one day and be like, oh, we're going out to dinner every night, and I'm going to buy a new truck, and, we're going to buy a vacation home that, we never use or anything like that. Like, I don't think that people, realize like it takes years of discipline to get there. And then, like you said, like once you get there, you just have the choice. Like now you actually have the choice. And I think that's one of the most freeing parts of it, is that you have the choice now. And you thought you always knew the decision you would make when you get there. But once you get there, you're like, well, now I have way more options. Exactly. So that's,
you said it perfectly. The sacrifice. Like I was telling my wife the other day, I'm so tired lately. Like we like every night, I've been for years with like day job, then nighttime job, and like 7 days a week. Like at a certain point, we're getting close there, and like it's normalized this work schedule. By the time I stop working, I'm like, what am I going to do? And that's where it's scary at the same time. But the sacrifice to get to this point has been, it's understatement. It's so hard to get to this point, but when it's there, it's going to be much more rewarding, because all that hard work is paid off.
And, let's not forget that a lot of the excitement that comes from this isn't just reaching the goal of your passive income. It's the journey there too, because exactly. You're finding a lot of fulfillment in the things that you're doing day to day. You're coming across and meeting great people. You and your wife have like a great business that you're building, and that journey is what brings a lot of fulfillment as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about hitting that goal, because I know you guys are going to crush it. You're going to hit that goal, and you're going to be sitting there like, well, what's next? And what's next is the next journey to the next goal. It's not just the next goal, it's the path to getting to it. So I think that's something that needs to be appreciated.
Yeah, the best things in life are the ones that aren't planned, and this was not planned. So that's how I put it.
That's right. And I think this rolls right in to, what motivates you, man? Like, what is the motivation behind that? Like the why? We just talked about the sacrifice. We talked about the numbers. Like, break it down for us on what you're doing all this for,
Yeah, you know what? I ask myself that question all the time. I'm a hard worker throughout my career. I follow society, go to school, get your master's degree, go to work. And I thought that was going to satisfy me. I grew up in the corporate ladder, but it wasn't enough. I had to grow into something my own. And that's when real estate started opening my eyes to that. But what motivates me, it's honestly, it's like a board game. It's like a Monopoly game in person. And like, it's fun. It's just fun. It drives me. It's kind of like a cheat code. Like you're building something, and everything's so unknown that it's unpredictable. And I like that about myself. Of course I do it for my family, but to be honest with you, I'm not building these units for my kids to take over. At the end of the day, I might donate some of them or sell them before that, because I think they should build on their own as well. But I'm just doing it just to, as I go, it evolves, but just the wise to have that choice of what to do. And that's powerful. If I decide to still work as I go forward, but it's really having that choice. And I believe that's really where I'm working towards, where I can spend more time with my family, walk them to school, spend that extra time and have that choice to choose my day.
That's freedom right there.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about some of the things that you've been doing to get to that why, to get to that independence level. What are some of the obstacles that you're facing? I mean, you've laid out pretty much, what your business plan is going to be to reach your goals, but what are some of the challenges that you think you're going to face on that path there?
I think the biggest thing with me is really the plan, just how long it takes. It's so unpredictable too, because I don't know where the market's going to be 2 years. And my project I have aligned right now that I just bought is going to finish 2023. So the unpredictability there. I think the obstacles I have is financing. I do finance everything on our own. And that's by stripping equity. So it has worked so far, but we don't know where the market's going to go. As for hurdles, we've limited those because we build on our own. We have equity lines that funds the construction on that end. So we're aligned there overall, but I think the biggest thing is just time. Cities are taking so much longer because of COVID. They're working from home, and all that impacts me. Costs keep on going up. From 2 years ago now, I'm sure it's going to cost me $260 a square foot to build. So I think, honestly, obstacles wise, nothing that we haven't predicted, but just being able to build the units and just get through these next 2 years is going to be key.
Let me ask you this. Have you thought about maybe investing outside of your current geographic region? Are you like all in where you currently are?
I am. I'm actually going to invest next year, probably next 2 months, in Arizona. I'm going to do short-term rentals there. The state already made a statement. They already did pass a law that short-term rentals are open for every city. So I'm actually going to invest in short-term rentals. What I'm going to is luxury short-term rentals. So I'm going to start buying lake houses. I'm going to start buying 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom units, making the backyards really nice. So I'm going to start focusing on that next year. Hopefully lock in 3 and rehab those. The reason I've been so hesitant is that I micromanage everything from the construction, everything, bookkeeping, everything, that I like to know everything that happens, that I have to start delegating and pushing out that way, because I can make a bigger profit margin in other states. So it's taken me some time, but I'm actually going to jump the ship to Arizona and try that out this year.
That's your obstacle, man. Building your systems and your team right there. Yeah. I mean, you're identifying it perfectly, and I think once you get that figured out, you're gonna scale to incredible heights.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been tough. But everything's close by my house right now, so it's been very easy to do. But out of state, so many people are doing it. I see that's very lucrative that I'm actually going to jump into that. So I need to.
And what's nice is you already have that foundation that we talked about in the beginning to kind of cushion a blow if there is one. I mean, you already have a model. You're already doing short term. You're already doing midterm. You already know how the system works. I'm sure you've probably already been doing a lot of research. You're seeing that the market is softening a little bit, and now you're like, now's my time to jump. So all that's great, but that's not your first. Your first thing isn't, hey, let me go to this high risk, high reward investment. You've already have all of your solid stuff, your foundation, that cash flow coming in, those lines of credit where you already built all of that up. And now you're saying, how do I take my business to the next level? Yeah. And I think that's really important for our listeners out there to, kind of rewind and remember that you have to build a solid foundation first with, your strategy. Pick your strategy, build your solid foundation first, and then after you have that, you can gradually kind of go out and take on a little bit more risk. James, what do you think about that?
Well, I think Roberto's overnight success story started in 2012 when he bought his first house hack without knowing what he was doing, and he took the risk. And that's where his foundation started. He didn't start buying $1 million properties, from the get-go. So, and that was 10 years ago now. And it's through that time that the foundation grows, becomes stronger, and gives you more opportunity to leverage in the future. So take those small steps now, build that foundation.
Yeah, I think diversify the portfolio now too. Now I'm going to do out of state. I'm going to do Airbnbs, and I have a good long-term portfolio. Now I'm going to mix in the short-term portfolio. I see a lot of people just do Airbnbs, and I think they're missing out on the appreciation aspect in the next 10 years that really brings value, the multifamily value that you guys know that you guys are multifamilies, that, diversifying the portfolio, I think is very important as well to get all the benefits of real estate.
Exactly. That's kind of our motto. I'm kind of thinking on this, not necessarily a downturn, but on this flattening, that we might, re-add some single families to our portfolio, and maybe now's the perfect time, like you said, I was looking at Airbnbs in the beginning of the year, and I told myself I was going to get one this year. Now I've started to look at them again because interest rates are a little high, and it's kind of softening a little bit in those key markets. So we're trying to do the same thing, diversify the portfolio a little bit, have those high cash flow, deals, have those long-term, baseline foundation cash flow deals, and maybe mix in some, like you said, midterm, some furnished finders, some nurse housing, and kind of have a nice, real estate business diversified portfolio instead of just having, your heart set all on one thing. So that's really, really great. James, I think we are like kind of rolling down everything. I there's so much to dive into. I'm sure you've got something else you want to get off on here.
Ask Roberto. I think we hit it. Roberto, I saw something on that I wanted to talk to you about because I think your properties would probably be a good fit for this discussion. We can kind of dive into it a little bit. Cost segregation, because I think that's a big concept that people overgloss, and they might think that their properties may be too small, and they might think they have to apply that kind of strategy to more commercial types of acquisitions and multifamilies. But you're doing it for your single family and ADU properties. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's been a game changer. So same way as Airbnb has changed my mind, cost segregation has changed my mind a lot. So I did my first cost segregation study for 2021 taxes. I'm getting a $40,000 tax return. So I am paying zero taxes for my W-2 income job because of real estate. And that's the power right there, that I would pay $40,000 right now and give it to Uncle Sam. But now I'm going to get $40,000, and guess what I'm going to do? That's going to buy a property in Arizona out of state, and I'm going to buy another property and increase my portfolio. So cost segregation. So I did that one on a single family that I built 2 units on it. So I did the cost segregation on the property, and then I did the cost segregation on the construction. So I was able to accelerate a lot of those funds in the first year and write off my W-2 income. So I have 3 more cost segregation studies I'm doing this year. So for 2 multifamilies we bought, and then a single family that I used to have as my primary in 2014. So I'm using those, and that write-off will be for the next 3 years as well. So it's such a powerful play to use going forward. The key is if you're going to keep the property, and I keep my property, so cost segregate those, take advantage of every aspect on the real estate side because it'll help you grow. Because that's $40,000 I'm getting now is going to help me buy another property.
That's the long-term view here, and I think that people don't really get that when you're doing your depreciation. You're going to have depreciation recapture when you sell this place, and that's going to hit you. So like all the benefits that you had up front, it's going to be recaptured, and you're going to have to, step toe to toe with Uncle Sam later down the line. But what you're getting at here is the time value of money. So you're able to save all that money, not pay taxes now, put it to use with another property and grow that portfolio, purchase more property, grow that equity, refinance, rinse and repeat down the line. So when it comes down to the cost segregation investment, what goes into that? What are you paying? Who's involved? What's all entailed there?
So yeah, you're gonna have to have good bookkeeping, make sure the costs are allocated. I use QuickBooks. So once you're done with the construction, you then reach out to a cost segregation company, and they will ask for your permits. If you're building, I'm gonna use one as if you're building. So the construction, the permits, and the cost that you pay for the contractor, you give them the financials. What they do, that cost me about $5,300 for that cost segregation study. They then send someone, just take pictures, and then they have an engineer that does a report to say what of the cost is 27.5 years and what's under 15 years. So then they allocate, okay, floors is about 15 years, roof is about 27.5 years. And they could say appliances about 3 years. So then they do that, and then anything that's under 15 years can be accelerated depreciation in the first year. Anything that's 27.5 on that report stays as 27.5. So you're able to accelerate anything under 15 years. And that's usually, from what I see, it's about 30% of the total cost that you could accelerate. So for example, we just bought a property this year that cost us $1 million. Depreciation for the building is about $800,000. We're going to be able to write off about 30% of the $800,000. So about $240,000 will be a write-off for the first year. So
that's amazing.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's cool. It's a cool incentive, because you're technically stimulating the economy, because you're investing in the economy. You're obviously opening, you're buying more property. So they're giving us that credit because we're stimulating the economy.
Patrick, what are your thoughts on this? Have you done cost seg on your properties yet?
So I have. I did one on our 10-unit apartment building that we bought last year. What I didn't know is that I could have done them on the triplex that I bought and the quadplex that I bought the years before. So I lost out on that. I don't know if I could go back and do one. I'm pretty sure it's only that first year that you own the property when you're doing all the renovations and everything. I'm not an expert, so if you know, that would be great.
You can. I'm actually doing one on a property I bought in 2014. I did a remodel, added 2,000 square feet on it in 2017, and they said I could cost seg that. So the only issue is that when you buy it so long ago, it's probably not worth that much. So even if you cost seg it, you're not going to get that much of a benefit. But if it's recent, it's more recent, 3-4 years, you're probably going to get a huge benefit there.
The problem being you've already depreciated some of that property already, so you're not able to front load.
That's true. Well, okay, so we paid $850,000 for this property, and we probably put about, all said and done, 60 to 80,000 into it last year with like contractors and work and everything else. And I got 127,000 to be able to depreciate, because here's the key: I 1031 exchanged into the property, so I had to take 140,000 off the top because I already didn't pay taxes on that, and then I got to, depreciate the rest of that 30. So not only if I sell do I have to recapture the 1031 exchange, I have to recapture the bonus depreciation. We haven't done our taxes yet this year, but I'm assuming, that 120 plus all the other money we spent on a lot of properties, we are going to get a check back as well and be looking to do something just like that. So our goal is to buy at least one multifamily every year to be able to do that and just never pay taxes. So that is a absolutely huge thing. And you're actually, I think, the first person we talked about the cost segregation analysis for. And that's really huge. And like you said, you're going to have so much built up with all these properties that you're going to not pay taxes for years. Just remember last year, or the year before, it was huge how our previous president's tax returns came out and he didn't pay any taxes, and everybody was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And this is exactly how it's done, and anyone can do it. Again, the three of us are just three normal guys having a conversation about real estate because we're passionate about it. We got into it. And these are the strategies that, people are doing to not pay taxes, because and I loved how what you said is because it's stimulating the economy, because you're investing in your local community. And because you're doing that, the government is giving you the benefit of being able to depreciate some of that asset in advance to get you more money to go and invest in local communities.
Well, let's all admit it here. I think we're all better stewards of money than the federal government. So I think it's a great thing. We can put this money to great use and provide nice, habitable, quality living environments for people. So it's an overall net positive.
Yeah, I agree. And the key, like Patrick said, is that you have to buy one every year. So it actually motivates you to buy every year. So it's actually funny too, because if you don't buy in a year, then you don't have a write-off for the next year. So it incentivizes you to buy. So you keep on growing. So why not?
Yeah. And every year you're making more and more money with your rentals and having more and more income. So you need ways to depreciate that, because at some point you're not going to be building, 7 ADUs and spending $1 million on construction. You're not going to have that write-off either. So at some point you're going to have to start paying. And
Exactly.
none of us want to pay taxes. So wow, that's huge for everyone out there. Go back and listen to that, because that's a big one. Even if you bought a duplex or a triplex or whatever, that could be huge. So I think this is a perfect segue into one of our favorite sections of the podcast, and we are officially calling it
the Big Four.
Big Four. So James, kick it off, brother.
Roberto, so tell me something that you do that feels like a cheat code for achieving financial independence. Something that you do that kind of just, makes everything feel easier, and maybe something that other people don't have an appreciation of doing themselves.
I think the ADU strategy is a perfect example. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't do it. Surprisingly, I'm surprised that a lot of investors don't do this because it takes so long. But I think that's the biggest cheat code if you're investing in LA. Build ADUs, get a lot, and you could profit so much once you do that. I think another cheat code is cost segregation, to utilize the tax code to benefit you. Another cheat code I would say that I've just learned that I'm going to do this year as well is self-directed IRA, buying properties on your self-directed IRA. Ooh, that blew my mind when I learned about that. And I'm actually going to transfer all my money to Roth 401k, move it to LLC, and start buying properties that way. I think that's a huge cheat code that honestly is low risk, because you're relying on Wall Street to manage your money. It's the same thing if you buy a property. Like, might as well buy a property and see how it goes from there. But I think that's a huge cheat code for people that are risk adverse to buy properties on the 401k money. But I think those are the huge cheat codes I've seen.
So the cheat codes, which, what I'm hearing from you is follow the systems that are already in place for you to take advantage of maximizing the ROI on your money. And
exactly.
It's a cheat code because most people don't feel like looking into it or taking advantage of it. So it's really just a take action of the opportunity that's already out there.
Yeah, do the things that people don't want to do.
Exactly.
That's usually where it's profitable.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're adding value, and that's where you make your money. So that's great.
Boom. All right, Roberto. Are there any books, podcasts, influencers, or specific resources that have really shaped, your financial independence journey, your real estate journey, besides Rich Dad Poor Dad? Because I know most of us, that was the book that started it all. So besides that one,
I actually didn't like that book, but I'll leave that to the side. Because that's how I thought when I read it. I'm like, that's normal. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that shifted me, I've read a lot of the books, real estate. I've read a lot of the books, leadership books. But the biggest thing that changed my focus was I started following tax accountants, real estate tax accountants. And that's what really changed my mind about real estate investing. Because then I started doing my investing based on the tax code, using depreciation, using the cost segregation and benefiting that way, and doing my growth plan by that. So I would say KKOS lawyers, Matt Swarson, Mark Kohler, they have great podcasts. They are geniuses when it comes to taxes, and they're lawyers as well. They're actually they set up my LLC. So those podcasts really changed my mind about just real estate in general and how to structure it.
That's awesome. And that's actionable advice right there.
Yeah. And then just building LLCs, structuring your LLCs, making sure they're profitable, making sure you have a holding company in Wyoming to create extra protection, set up your LLCs individually after your $250,000 equity. So building the infrastructure to make you untouchable is key as well, because especially in states like California, we could get sued for anything. You want to be protected. You build all this wealth, you sacrifice so much that for one lousy lawsuit, you could lose everything. So building the infrastructure, building the protection, building the umbrellas that way is really the key.
That's key right there.
Yeah.
Man, what two fantastic answers. So James, bring us into this next one, because I'm sure it's going to be good.
So Roberto, it's 5 years in the future, and I want you to paint a picture for us for what excites you about being at that place in your life. What does your business look like? What does your personal life look like? What's going on in Roberto's life in 5 years?
Man, it could probably change when you ask me this next month, but still buying multifamilies. I think for myself, multifamilies is key to growth, long-term growth. I think I'm going to have a real estate portfolio for luxury vacation units, and I want to focus on the luxury ones because I feel like those bring the most capital per dollar on your investments. But I also am looking into congregate care living, starting my own company there. And this blows my mind. A lot of people don't know about this, but this is like an Airbnb on steroids. So I'm actually looking to building my own company next year. And I think that's going to be my focus for the next 5 years, building that business portfolio. You want me to go into what congregate care is?
Yeah, I'm sitting here scratching my head. I'm like, is he gonna give us his definition or what?
We can't just let this slide away.
This is insane. And a lot of people don't do it because it's very difficult to do. But
so what is it called again? Give me the
congregate care living.
Okay.
So have you guys heard of like senior care centers, living care centers that they charge per day to stay at your house? So these are residential living. Yeah, assisted living. So you can make good money there, but those are low acuity. So congregate care is higher acuity. So basically they limit you at 6 beds per house. So if you have 3 rooms, you could put 2 beds per room. The insurances pay you $600 to $1,000 a day per bed. So think about that math. You have 6 beds per day, $6,000. Let's just make it like that. $6,000 times 30.
That's $180,000 a month.
Times a year, 1.2 million.
1.2 million for a 3-bedroom house.
3-bedroom. And this is the crazy part. These are more lucrative in the underserved areas, which are lower cost per square foot. You're getting lower. You could probably get it for $300 a square foot compared to the A-class areas I'm investing in. I'm paying $700 a square foot, $800 a square foot. So you're buying property at the low, and you're getting the revenue of up to $1 million. You're going to have to put medical equipment, which I'm in the healthcare field, so I know about all this. Medical equipment, you have to provide nursing, and you have to get a license by the state, which costs about $20,000. One of my future partners, we're talking about it right now. He opened one this year. He's profiting $250,000 on a $400,000 house.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow.
Insane.
That is. So is this like after hospital care? Like people get out of the hospital and need like a couple extra days or something like that?
Every day, seniors are aging into 65 years old. I think the number was 10,000 per day are aging into senior care. So this is going to be the future. So when you're in the hospital, you can't stay in the hospital because the cost of insurance is too much. So then they put you in SNFs, which are like aftercare, but those are getting inundated with people. They don't have enough room. So then they're pushing them to living care facilities, but they don't have high acuity. So that's where congregate care happens. And in an overpopulated city like Los Angeles, there's a high demand for it. So we're going to jump into this. I got some partners aligned. We're going to invest in this, and we're going to start buying properties, turning them into very nice facilities for congregate care. And then we're going to be benefiting from the insurance money on that.
This is just one of those niche real estate models that just blows your mind when you do the crunch the numbers on and you do the math on. And what's great about this is that there's a regulatory hurdle. You got to pay that $20,000 for a license to get into this. That's going to keep a lot of people out of it because they're going to be afraid to invest that one reason or another. Plus all the medical backside of this for logistics and the medical equipment and everything. This is turned into a legit business. It's not as easy as putting a tenant into a house and collecting a check once a month. Like you're going to have employees, you're going to have staff, you're going to have a lot to manage. But, you know, you're talking about these numbers, you know, that's why you're going to be paying.
It's insane. It's insane, the margins. And then when one of my doctors bring it up to me, I said, what are the margins on that? And he showed me the numbers. I was like, whoa, I've never seen this before. And this is the crazy part. So you could buy multifamilies, and if you have 3 lots, 3 addresses, you could put 6 bedrooms on each property. So if you have 3 houses on a lot, like I have the ADUs are allowed to do this kind of living, congregate living. So you could get $120,000 per month per unit. So now that's $300,000 a month if you have 3 houses on your lot.
Yeah. I mean, this just goes to show like this.
It's crazy,
really
man.
Just goes to show like there is so many ways to make money in real estate out there. Like there's so many little niches. There's so many things people are doing. Like there's just so many ways out there. Like you just have to go out and figure that stuff out. And like you just happen to be in this market with your W-2 that kind of like led you down to this, you know, but your real estate background that you've built over the last 10 years now gives you the confidence, and you have the foundation to take a risk on one of these extremely high profitability, you know, business models. So like, wow, how we possibly missed out on that little nugget right there without the big 4 is really blowing my mind that we did.
Yeah.
There's like 2 things right there that you just like sprinkled in real quick in the last couple minutes of this podcast that are like insane.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
And
tell
this
you
is the
what, I
crazy
can't
part,
wait
too.
to do the follow-up episode too. After this all starts hitting on all cylinders, like that's something we're going to have to dig into.
Yeah, next year, talk to me. So I'm going to probably do this Q1 next year. I'm preparing everything right now. I'm looking into the legal structure and everything, but this is the crazy part. So if I buy a multifamily and I start building units on that, I could build these units and get triple the profit there. But not even that. You create the business company. You have your multifamily, and multifamilies are evaluated based on rent. So this company is going to lease out the multifamily. So I'm going to have strong leases on the multifamily, raise up the value here, have the company super profitable. I'm going to have both benefits if I own the real estate that the property is on. And eventually, I always think, what's the exit route? Eventually, senior care is going to grow, and it's going to become more of a demand. If I get a couple of them, I could sell the business to the health plan or the healthcare company and just lease out the real estate to them.
Keep the leases. Yeah, and like you were just saying, you're increasing the value of the properties, because if you're bringing in $100,000 a month on each one of these, you could charge 25,000 rents or whatever you decide to charge. And because it's multifamily, now you have 75,000. Your net operating income is going to be $500,000+ So these properties are going to be worth like $10 million.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going to. So
and you're going to sell the business. So, and of course, you know, he's going to sign commercial leases for like 10 years or something like that with automatic increases, and go, hey, you can buy the business, but you already have these leases with me. So I'm set. Like
I'm just hearing that you're going to be the McDonald's of congregate living. So that's
and the penetration is so low. I looked at the barrier entry is very difficult. There's only like 10 in this area. Like the people I'm talking to that eventually we haven't formalized a partnership are physicians that are well known in the community. So we're structured in a way with my real estate background. Ooh, man, I could see this going skyrocketing as we go forward. But hopefully, we'll see. We could talk in a year from now.
We will be talking in a year from now. All right. So for anyone out there that wants to pick your brain about any of the multitude of things that you drop nuggets on for the last hour plus, where's the best way to find you?
Instagram. I'm only have a presence on Instagram or in our builds. So I try to post at least one thing a week. So it's very difficult because it's me and my wife are a one-team show. So, but R&R builds on Instagram, or you can find us.
Perfect. We'll include a link to that in our show notes. So anybody who just wants to click on that, go check out all the cool things that Roberto has going on.
Hey, that's how we found him. And we are so happy that you decided to spend an hour with us. For everyone out there, please leave us a review on Apple. Hit that 5-star on Spotify. Go subscribe on YouTube. I think we have like maybe 15 or 20 almost. And share this with your friends. We love you. We'll talk to you next time. See you guys.
Here goes.
Thank you for listening to the Real FI podcast, where you learn from the investors that have lived the hard lessons for you. To connect with us during your pursuit of financial independence, be sure to join our community by following us on Instagram or emailing us at info@therealfi.com. If this content made you financially, mentally, physically, or spiritually richer, please make sure to leave us a positive review on your preferred content platform. Cheers to kicking the 9 to 5.